This is Learning Coherence, Chapter 10, a series on the architecture underneath professional learning plans. This chapter, the full loop, and a plan that learns from itself. Chapter 10, the full loop, the complete cycle. The pieces I've described across these chapters, impact, goals, theories of action, logic models, coherence checking, stakeholder governance, decision records, only produce their full value when they connect into a loop that repeats. Generation. School context goes in. The system generates a structurally complete plan, marble, not clay, with every section carrying a quality gate. Gray, AI generated, untouched. Amber, reviewed, not approved. Interrogation. The planning team works the plan. Does this theory of action hold here? Is this because clause testable with evidence we can gather? The marble artifact makes these questions possible. The team consultation. The plan meets stakeholders with the decision model named up front. Targeted questions, multiple channels, every submission captured in full. Synthesis, convergence, tension, minority insights surfaced across submissions. AI drafts, humans validate. The flag stays false until someone with judgment says, this interpretation represents what stakeholders say. Decision, what gets adopted, declined, or deferred, with rationale, dissent, and trade-offs. The transparency report goes back, and then refresh. This is the step that closes the loop. The decision record includes a refresh recommendation, which sections of the plan should be regenerated based on what was decided and what was learned. But before anything regenerates, the system takes a snapshot, a frozen version of the plan as it stood before the refresh. That means the institution can always compare what the plan said before with what it says now. The changes are tracked at the component level, not the paragraph level. The generator runs again, but only on the affected sections. The plan absorbs the consultation. The because clauses that were challenged get revised. The KPIs that weren't measurable get replaced. The activities that don't match the implementation stage get redesigned. The marble artifact updates, and the updated sections arrive back in the workspace at gray status, awaiting human review. The cycle begins again. Generate, interrogate, consult, synthesize, decide, refresh. Over time, and this is the part I find most interesting, the plan accumulates something that no single planning cycle can produce, a record of its own evolution. What the plan says now, what it said before, why each decision was made, what was considered and rejected, what was deferred, and when it should be revisited. The first year is mostly structural discipline, building the architecture, establishing the evidence systems, learning to use the chain. It's the hardest year, because the institution is simultaneously designing a plan and learning a new way of planning. The payoff isn't immediate. The payoff is in year 2, when the plan has enough accumulated evidence and enough decision history to learn from itself. By year 3, if the institution sustains the discipline, the plan is no longer an annual document. It's a continuously improving system. The theories of action have been tested. The ones that held have evidence behind them. The ones that didn't have documented learning about why the mechanism failed and what replaced it. The stakeholder governance has a track record, submissions, syntheses, decisions, transparency reports, that builds credibility for the process itself. Methodology provenance matters most here. Every construct and every version of the plan traces to the framework that informed it. The goal's CASAB dimension traces to Killian. The theory of action's causal chain traces to Weiss. The contribution narrative traces to Main. The implementation stage traces to Fixen. The evaluation criteria trace to OECD DAC. The coherence audit traces to Learning Forward. The cognitive complexity mapping traces to Bloom and Marzano. The behavioral design traces to Fogg. The complexity, that provenance doesn't make the plan more academic. It makes it more trustworthy. When a planning team inherits a plan and asks, why is this KPI measuring coaching observation frequency? The answer isn't because someone thought it was important. The answer is, this KPI measures a behavior goal at GUS key level 4, targeting the because clause that claims structured observation produces practice refinement. And the data source is drawn from CBAM's innovation configuration maps for coaching implementation fidelity. The reasoning is in the architecture. The research authority is visible. I didn't invent any of those ideas. GUS keys levels are GUS keys. Killian's. CASAB is Killian's. Weiss's theory of change is Weiss's. Main's contribution analysis is Main's. Fixen's implementation science is Fixen's. Patton's utilization-focused evaluation is Patton's. What I built is the connective tissue. the architecture that makes them work together instead of sitting in separate binders on separate shelves, and the living loop that lets the architecture learn from itself over time. That's learning coherence, not any single framework, the connections between them, and a plan that holds its own reasoning, not just for the people who built it, but for everyone who inherits it, interrogates it, and makes it better.